England cricket team, Wikipedia audio. Test kit. ODI kit. T20I kit. History. The England cricket team represents England and Wales in international cricket. Since January 1, 1997 it has been governed by the England and Wales Cricket Board, having been previously governed by Marylebone Cricket Club from 1903 until the end of 1996. England and Australia were the first teams to play a test match, and these two countries together with South Africa formed the Imperial Cricket Conference on June 15, 1909. England and Australia also played the first one-day international on January 5, 1971. England's first 2020 international was played on June 13, 2005, once more against Australia. The lack of a genuine all-rounder to bat at 6, Ian Botham having left a huge gap in the batting order when he had retired from tests in 1992, Alex Stewart, a sound wicket-keeper and an excellent player of quick bowling, could not open and keep wicket, hence his batting down the order, where he was often exposed to spin which he didn't play as well. As of March 10, 2018, England has played 995 test matches, winning 356 and losing 295. The team has won the Ashes on 32 occasions. England has played 707 ODIs, winning 350, and its record in major ODI tournaments includes finishing as runners-up in 3 Cricket World Cups, and in 2 ICC Champions Trophies. England has also played 100 T20Is, winning 47. They won the ICC World 2020 in 2010, and were runners-up in 2016. As of February 18, 2018, England are ranked 5th in Tests, 3rd in ODIs and 6th in T20Is by the ICC. Though the team and coaching staff faced heavy criticism after their group stage exit in the 2015 Cricket World Cup, it has since adopted a more aggressive and modern playing style in ODI cricket, under the leadership of Captain Owen Morgan and head coach Trevor Bayliss. The first recorded incidence of a team with a claim to represent England comes from July 9, 1739 when an All-England team, which consisted of 11 gentlemen from any part of England exclusive of Kent, played against the unconquerable county of Kent and lost by a margin of very few notches. Such matches were repeated on numerous occasions for the best part of a century. In 1846 William Clark formed the All-England 11. This team would eventually compete against a united All-England 11 with annual matches occurring between 1847 and 1856. These matches were arguably the most important contest of the English season if judged by the quality of the players. The first overseas tour occurred in September 1859 with England touring North America. This team had 6 players from the All-England 11, 6 from the United All-England 11 and was captained by George Parr. March to April, English cricket team in New Zealand in 2017-18 for 2 tests and 5 ODIs. With the outbreak of the American Civil War, attention turned elsewhere. English tourists visited Australia in 1861-62 with this first tour organised as a commercial venture by Messrs Spears and Pond, restaurateurs of Melbourne. Most matches played during tours prior to 1877 were against odds, with the opposing team fielding more than 11 players to make for a more even contest. This first Australian tour were mostly against odds of at least 18/11. The tour was so successful that George Parr led a second tour in 1863–64. James Lillywhite led a subsequent England team which sailed on the P&O steamship Puna on September 21, 1876. They would play a combined Australian 11, for once on even terms of 11 aside. The match, starting on March 15, 1877 at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, came to be regarded as the inaugural Test match. The combined Australian 11 won this Test match by 45 runs, with Charles Bannerman of Australia scoring the first Test century. At the time, the match was promoted as James Lillywhite's 11 v combined Victoria and New South Wales. The teams played a return match on the same ground at Easter, 1877, when Lillywhite's team avenged their loss with a victory by 4 wickets. The first Test match on English soil occurred in 1880 with England victorious. This was the first time England fielded a fully representative side with W.G. Grace included in the team. May to June, Pakistan cricket team in England in 2018 for 2 Tests. June, England cricket team in Scotland in 2018 for 1 ODI. June, Australia cricket team in England in 2018 for 5 ODIs and 1 T20I. July to September, India cricket team in England in 2018 for 5 Tests, 3 ODIs and 3 T20I. Early tours. England lost their first home series 1-0 in 1882 with the Sporting Times printing an obituary on English cricket. In affectionate remembrance of English cricket, which died at the Oval on August 29, 1882, deeply lamented by a large circle of sorrowing friends and acquaintances RIP-NB. The body will be cremated and the ashes taken to Australia. As a result of this loss, the tour of 1882–83 was dubbed by England captain Ivo Bligh as the quest to regain the ashes. England, with a mixture of amateurs and professionals, won the series 2-1. Bligh was presented with an urn that contained some ashes, which have variously been said to be of a ball, or even a woman's veil, and so the ashes was born. A fourth match was then played, which Australia won by 4 wickets, but the match was not considered part of the Ashes series. England would dominate many of these early contests, with England winning the Ashes series 10 times between 1884 and 1898. During this period, England also played their first Test match against South Africa in 1889, at Port Elizabeth. England won the 1890 Ashes series 2-0, with the third match of the series being the first Test match to be abandoned. England lost 2-1 in the 1891–92 series, although England regained the urn the following year. England again won the 1894–95 series, winning 3-2 under the leadership of Andrew Stoddart. In 1895–96 England played Test South Africa, winning all Tests in the series. The 1899 Ashes series was the first tour where the MCC and the counties appointed a selection committee. There were 3 active players: Lord Hawke, W.G. Grace and Herbert Bainbridge, who was the captain of Warwickshire. Prior to this, England teams for home tests had been chosen by the club on whose ground the match was to be played. England lost the 1899 Ashes series 1-0, with W.G. Grace making his final Test appearance in the first match of the series. The start of the 20th century saw mixed results for England, as they lost 4 of the 8 Ashes series between 1900 and 1914. During this period England would lose their first series against South Africa in the 1905-06 season 4-1 as their batting faltered. England lost their first series of the new century to Australia in 190-02 Ashes. Australia also won the 1902 series, which was memorable for exciting cricket, including Gilbert Jessop scoring a Test century in just 70 minutes. England regained the Ashes in 1904 under the captaincy of Plum Warner. R.E. Foster scored 287 on his debut and Wilfred Rhodes took 15 wickets in a match. In 1905-06 England lost 4-1 against South Africa. England avenged the defeat in 1907, when they won the series 1-0 under the captaincy of R.E. Foster. However, they lost the 1909 Ashes series against Australia, suing 25 players in the process. England also lost to South Africa, with Jack Hobbs scoring his first of 15 centuries on the tour. England toured Australia in 1911-12 and beat their opponents 4-1. The team included the likes of Jack Hobbs, Frank Woolley, Sidney Barnes, and Wilfred Rhodes. England lost the first match of the series but bounced back and won the next 4 tests. This proved to be the last Ashes series before the war. 1880s. 1890s. The 1912 season saw England take part in a unique experiment. A 9-test triangular tournament involving England, South Africa, and Australia was set up. The series was hampered by a very wet summer and player disputes, however, and the tournament was considered a failure, with the Daily Telegraph stating, October to November, English cricket team in Sri Lanka in 2018-19 for 3 tests, 5 ODIs, and 1 T20I. April to May, English cricket team in West Indies in 2018-19 for 3 tests, 5 ODIs, and 1 T20I. 1900s. 1910s. 1920s. 1930s. 1940s. 9 tests provide a surfeit of cricket, and contests between Australia and South Africa are not a great attraction to the British public. April, England cricket team in Ireland in 2019 for 1 ODI. May, Pakistan cricket team in England in 2019 for 5 ODIs and 1 T20I. June to July, 2019 Cricket World Cup in England, Edgbaston and Old Trafford, The Oval, Bristol, Cardiff, Chester Le Street, Headingley, Southampton, Taunton and Trent Bridge. August to September, Australia cricket team in England in 2019 for 5 tests. With Australia sending a weakened team and the South African bowlers being ineffective, England dominated the tournament, winning 4 of their 6 matches. The Australia v South Africa match, at Lord's, was notable for a visit by King George V, the first time a reigning monarch had watched Test cricket. England would go on one more tour against South Africa before the outbreak of World War I. November to December, English cricket team in New Zealand in 2019-20 for 2 tests. December to February, English cricket team in South Africa in 2019-20 for 5 tests, 3 ODIs, and 1 T20I. England's final tour before the outbreak of World War I saw England beat South Africa 4-0. Sidney Barnes took 49 wickets in the series. 1880 The Oval, London capacity 26,000, 1884 Old Trafford, Manchester 26,000, 1884 Lords, London 28,000, 1899 Trent Bridge, Nottingham 17,500, 1899 Headingley, Leeds 17,500, 1925 Edgbaston, Birmingham 25,000, 2003 Riverside, Chester Le Street 19,000, 2009 Sophia Gardens, Cardiff 15,500, 2011 Rose Bowl, Southampton 25,000. 1950s. England's first match after the war was in the 1920-21 season against Australia. Still feeling the effects of the war, England went down to a series of crushing defeats and suffered their first whitewash, losing the series 5-0. 6 Australians scored hundreds while Maley spun out 36 English batsmen. Things were no better in the next few Ashes series, losing the 1921 Ashes series 3-0 and the 1924 5 Ashes 4-1. England's fortunes were to change in 1926 as they regained the Ashes and were a formidable team during this period, dispatching Australia 4-1 in the 1928-29 Ashes tour. On the same year, the West Indies became the fourth nation to be granted Test status and played their first game against England. England won each of these 3 tests by an innings, and a view was expressed in the press that their elevation had proved a mistake, although Larry Constantine did the double on the tour. In the 1929-30 season, England went on 2 concurrent tours, with one team going to New Zealand and the other to the West Indies. Despite sending 2 separate teams, England won both tours, beating New Zealand 1-0 and the West Indies 2-1. The 1930 Ashes series saw a young Don Bradman dominate the tour, scoring 974 runs in his 7 Test innings. He scored 254 at Lord's, 334 at Headingley and 232 at the Oval. Australia regained the Ashes, winning the series 3-1. As a result of Bradman's prolific run scoring, the England captain Douglas Jardine chose to develop the already existing leg theory into fast leg theory, or body line, as a tactic to stop Bradman. Fast leg theory involved bowling fast balls directly at the batsman's body. The batsman would need to defend himself, and if he touched the ball with the bat, he risked being caught by one of a large number of fielders placed on the leg side. Using his fast leg theory, England won the next Ashes series 4-1. But complaints about the body line tactic caused crowd disruption on the tour, and threats of diplomatic action from the Australian Cricket Board, which during the tour sent the following cable to the MCC in London. Bodyline bowling assumed such proportions as to menace best interests of game, making protection of body by batsmen the main consideration, causing intensely bitter feeling between players as well as injury. In our opinion, is unsportsmanlike. Unless stopped at once, likely to upset friendly relations existing between Australia and England. Later, Jardine was removed from the captaincy and the laws of cricket changed so that no more than one fast ball aimed at the body was permitted per over, and having more than 2 fielders behind square leg was banned. England's following tour of India in the 1933-34 season was the first Test match to be staged in the subcontinent. The series was also notable for Maurice Nichols and Nobby Clark bowling so many bouncers that the Indian batsmen wore solar topes instead of caps to protect themselves. 1960s. Australia won the 1934 Ashes series 2-1 and would keep the urn for the following 19 years. Many of the wickets of the time were friendly to batsmen, resulting in a large proportion of matches ending in high-scoring draws and many batting records being set. England drew the 1938 Ashes, meaning Australia retained the urn. England went into the final match of the series at the Oval 1-0 down, but won the final game by an innings and 579 runs. Len Hutton made the highest ever Test score by an Englishman, making 364 in England's first innings to help them reach 903, their highest ever score against Australia. S/N equals shirt number, C/T equals contract type, equals captain, equals vice captain. 1970s. The 1938-39 tour of South Africa saw another experiment, with the deciding test being a timeless test that was played to a finish. England lead 1-0 going into the final timeless match at Durban. Despite the final test being timeless, the game ended in a draw after 10 days as England had to catch the train to catch the boat home. A record 1,981 runs were scored, and the concept of timeless tests was abandoned. England would go in one final tour of the West Indies in 1939 before World War II, although a team for an MCC tour of India was selected more in hope than expectation of the matches being played. 2006/07, Andrew Flintoff, 2007/08, Ian Bell, 2008/09, Kevin Pietersen, 2009/10, Graham Swan, 2010/11, Jonathan Trott, 2011/12, James Anderson, 2012/13, Matt Pryor, 2013/14, Ian Bell, 2014/15, Joe Root, 2015/16, Joe Root. Test cricket resumed after the Second World War in 1946, and England won their first match back against India. However, they struggled in the 1946-1947 Ashes series, losing 3-0 in Australia under Willie Hammond's captaincy. England beat South Africa 3-0 in 1947 with Dennis Compton scoring 1,187 runs in the series. 1980s. 1990s. 2000s. The 1947-48 series against the West Indies was another disappointment for England, with the side losing 2-0 following injuries to several key players. England suffered further humiliation against Don Bradman's Invincible in the 1948 Ashes series. Len Hutton was controversially dropped for the third test, and England were bowled out for just 52 at the Oval. The series proved to be Bradman's final Ashes series. In 1948-49, England beat South Africa 2-0 under the captaincy of George Mann. The series included a record-breaking stand of 359 between Len Hutton and Cyril Washbrook. The decade ended with England drawing the Test series against New Zealand, with every match ending in a draw. Their fortunes would change in the 1953 Ashes tour as they won the series 1-0. England would not lose a series between their 1950-51 and 1958-59 tours of Australia and secured famous victory in 1954-55 under the captaincy of Peter May, thanks to Frank Typhoon Tyson, whose 685 at Sydney and 727 at Melbourne are remembered as the fastest bowling ever seen in Australia. The 1956 series was remembered for the bowling of Jim Laker, who took 46 wickets at 9.62, which included bowling figures of 1990ths at Old Trafford. After drawing to South Africa, England defeated the West Indies and New Zealand comfortably. The England team would then leave for Australia in the 1958-59 season with a team that had been hailed as the strongest ever to leave on an Ashes tour but lost the series 4-0 as Richie Benard's revitalised Australians were too strong, with England struggling with the bat throughout the series. On August 24, 1959, England inflicted its only 5-0 whitewash over India. All out for 194, at the Oval. India lost the last test by an innings. England's batsmen Ken Barrington and Colin Cowdrey both had an excellent series with the bat, with Barrington scoring 357 runs across the series and Cowdrey scoring 344. The early and middle 1960s were poor periods for English cricket. Despite England's strength on paper, Australia held the Ashes and the West Indies dominated England in the early part of the decade. Peter May stood down as captain in 1961 following the 1961 Ashes defeat. Ted Dexter succeeded him as captain, but England continued to suffer indifferent results. In 1961-62 they beat Pakistan, but also lost to India. The following year saw England and Australia tie the 1962-3 Ashes series 1-1, meaning Australia retained the urn. Despite beating New Zealand 3-0, England went on to lose to the West Indies, and again failed in the 1964 Ashes, losing the home series 1-0, which marked the end of Dexter's captaincy. However, from 1968 to 1971 they played 27 consecutive Test matches without defeat, winning 9 and drawing 18. The sequence began when they drew with Australia at Lord's in the second Test of the 1968 Ashes series and ended in 1971 when India won the third Test at the Oval by 4 wickets. They played 13 tests with only one defeat immediately beforehand and so played a total of 40 consecutive tests with only one defeat, dating from their innings victory over the West Indies at the Oval in 1966. During this period they beat New Zealand, India, the West Indies, Pakistan and, under Ray Illingworth's determined leadership, regained the Ashes from Australia in 1970-71. The 1970s, for the England team, can be largely split into 3 parts. The early 70s saw Ray Illingworth's side dominate world cricket, winning the Ashes away in 1971 and then retaining them at home in 1972. The same side beat Pakistan at home in 1971 and played by far the better cricket against India that season. However, England were largely helped by the rain to sneak the Pakistan series 1-0, but the same rain saved India twice and one England collapse saw them lose to India. This was, however, one of strongest England team ever with Boycott, Edric, de Oliveira, Amiss, Illingworth, Knott, Snow, Underwood amongst its core. The mid-1970s were more turbulent. Illingworth and several others had refused to tour India in 1972-73, which led to a clamour for Illingworth's job. By the end of that summer England had just been thrashed 2-0 by a flamboyant West Indies side with several England players well over 35. Mike Dennis was the surprising choice but only lasted 18 months. His results against poor opposition were good, but England were badly exposed as aging and lacking in good fast bowling against the 1974-75 Australians, losing that series 4-1 to lose the Ashes. Dennis was replaced in 1975 by Tony Greig. While he managed to avoid losing to Australia, his side were largely thrashed the following year by the young and very much upcoming West Indies, for whom Greig's infamous grovel remark acted as motivation. Grieg's finest hour was probably the 1976-77 win over India in India. When Grieg was discovered as being instrumental in World Series cricket, he was sacked, and replaced by Mike Brearley. Brearley's side showed again the hyperbole that is often spoken when one side dominates in cricket. While his side of 1977-80 contained some young players who went on to become England greats, most notably future captains Ian Botham, David Gower, and Graham Gooch, their opponents were often very much weakened by the absence of their World Series players, especially in 1978, when England beat New Zealand 3-0 and Pakistan 2-0 before thrashing what was effectively Australia's second 11-5-1 in 1978-79. The England team, with Brearley's exit in 1980, was never truly settled throughout the 1980s, which will probably be remembered as a low point for the team. While some of the great players like Botham, Gooch, and Gower had fine careers, the team seldom succeeded in beating good opposition throughout the decade and did not score a home test victory between September 1985 and July 1990. Botham took over the captaincy in 1980 and they put up a good fight against the West Indies, losing a 5-match test series 1-0. Although England were humbled in the return series. After scoring a pair in the first test against Australia, Botham lost the captaincy due to his poor form, and was replaced by Mike Brearley. Botham returned to form and played exceptionally in the remainder of the series, being named man of the match in the third, fourth, and fifth tests. The series became known as Botham's Ashes as England recorded a 3-1 victory. Keith Fletcher took over as captain in 1981, but England lost his first series in charge against India. Bob Willis took over as captain in 1982 and enjoyed victories over India and Pakistan, but lost the Ashes after Australia clinched the series 2-1. England hosted the World Cup in 1983 and reached the semi-finals, but their test form remained poor, as they suffered defeats against New Zealand, Pakistan, and the West Indies. David Gower took over as skipper in 1984 and led the team to a 2-1 victory over India. They went on to win the 1985 Ashes 3-1, although after this came a poor run of form. Defeat to the West Indies dented the team's confidence, and they went on to lose to India 2-0. In 1986 Mickey Stewart was appointed the first full-time England coach. England beat New Zealand, but there was little hope of them retaining the Ashes in 1986-87. However, despite being described as a team that can't bat, can't bowl, and can't field, they went on to win the series 2-1. After losing consecutive series against Pakistan, England drew a 3-match test series against New Zealand 0-0. They reached the final of the 1987 World Cup, but lost by 7 runs against Australia. After losing 4-0 to the West Indies, England lost the Ashes to a resurgent Australia led by Alan Border. With the likes of Graham Gooch banned following a rebel tour to South Africa, a new-look England side suffered defeat again against the West Indies, although this time by a margin of 2-1. If the 1980s were a low point for English Test cricket, then the 1990s were only a slight improvement. The arrival of Graham Gooch as captain in 1990 forced a move toward more professionalism and especially fitness, though it took some time for old habits to die. Even in 2011, 1 or 2 successful county players have been shown up as physically unfit for international cricket. Creditable performances against India and New Zealand in 1990 were followed by a hard-fought draw against the 1991 West Indies and a strong performance in the 1992 Cricket World Cup, in which the England team finished as runners-up for the second consecutive World Cup, but landmark losses against Australia in 1990-91 and especially Pakistan in 1992 showed England up badly in terms of bowling. So bad was England's bowling in 1993 that Rodney Marsh described England's pace attack at one point as pie throwers. Having lost 3 of the first 4 tests played in England in 1993, Graham Gooch resigned to be replaced by Mike Atherton. More selectorial problems abounded during Atherton's reign as new chairman of selectors/coach Ray Illingworth assumed almost sole responsibility for the team off the field. The youth policy, which had seen England emerge from the West Indies tour of 1993-94 with some credit, was abandoned, and players such as Gatting and Gooch were persisted with when well into their 30s and 40s. England duly continued to do well at home against weaker opponents such as India, New Zealand, and a West Indies side beginning to fade, but struggled badly against improving sides like Pakistan and South Africa. Atherton had offered his resignation after losing the 1997 Ashes series 3-2, having been 1-0 up after 2 matches, eventually to resign 1 series later in early 1998. England, looking for talent, went through a whole raft of new players during this period, such as Ronnie Irani, Adam Hollioake, Craig White, Graham Hick, Mark Ramprakash. At this time, there were 2 main problems. Alex Stewart took the reins as captain in 1998, but another losing Ashes series and early World Cup exit cost him Test and ODI captaincy in 1999. This should not detract from the 1998 home Test series, where England showed great fortitude to beat a powerful South African side 2-1. Another reason for their poor performances were the demands of county cricket teams on their players, meaning that England could rarely field a full-strength team on their tours. This would eventually lead to the ECB taking over the MCC as the governing body of England and the implementation of central contracts. 1992 also saw Scotland sever ties with the England and Wales team, and begin to compete independently as the Scotland national cricket team. By 1999, with coach David Lloyd resigning after the World Cup exit and new captain Nasser Hussain just appointed, England hit rock bottom after losing in shambolic fashion to New Zealand 2-1. Hussain was booed on the Oval balcony as the crowd jeered, "We've got the worst team in the world," to the tune of "He's got the whole world in his hands." Central contracts were installed, reducing players' workloads, and the arrival of Zimbabwean coach Duncan Fletcher, England had thrashed the fallen West Indies 3-1. England's results in Asia improved that winter with series wins against both Pakistan and Sri Lanka. Hussain's side had a far harder edge to it, avoiding the anticipated greenwash in the 2001 Ashes series against the all-powerful Australian team. The nucleus the side was slowly coming together as players such as Hussain himself, Graham Thorpe, Darren Gough and Ashley Giles began to be regularly selected. By 2003 though, having endured another Ashes drubbing as well as another first-round exit from the World Cup, Hussain resigned as captain after 1 test against South Africa. Michael Vaughan took over, with players encouraged to express themselves. England won 5 consecutive Test series prior to facing Australia in the 2005 Ashes series, taking the team to 2nd place in the ICC Test Championship table. During this period England defeated the West Indies home and away, New Zealand, and Bangladesh at home, and South Africa in South Africa. In June 2005, England played its first ever T20 international match, defeating Australia by 100 runs. Later that year, England defeated Australia 2-1 in a thrilling series to regain the Ashes for the first time in 16 years, having lost them in 1989. Following the 2005 Ashes win, the team suffered from a spate of serious injuries to key players such as Vaughan, Flintoff, Giles, and Simon Jones. As a result, the team underwent an enforced period of transition. A 2-0 defeat in Pakistan was followed by 2 drawn-away series with India and Sri Lanka. In the home Test series victory against Pakistan in July and August 2006, several promising new players emerged. Most notable were the left-arm orthodox spin bowler Monty Panesar, the first Sikh to play Test cricket for England, and left-handed opening batsman Alastair Cook. The 2006-07 Ashes series was keenly anticipated and was expected to provide a level of competition comparable to the 2005 series. In the event, England, captained by Flintoff, who was deputising for the injured Vaughan, lost all 5 tests to concede the first Ashes whitewash in 86 years. In the 2007 Cricket World Cup, England lost to most of the Test-playing nations they faced, beating only the West Indies and Bangladesh, although they also avoided defeat by any of the non-Test-playing nations. Even so, the unimpressive nature of most of their victories in the tournament, combined with heavy defeats by New Zealand, Australia, and South Africa, left many commentators criticising the manner in which the England team approached the one-day game. Coach Duncan Fletcher resigned after 8 years in the job as a result and was succeeded by former Sussex coach Peter Moores. In 2007-08, England toured Sri Lanka and New Zealand, losing the first series 1-0 and winning the second 2-1. They followed up at home in May 2008 with a 2-0 home series win against New Zealand, these results easing the pressure on Moores, who was not at ease with his team, particularly star batsman Kevin Pietersen, who succeeded Vaughan as captain in June 2008, after England had been well beaten by South Africa at home. The poor relationship between Moores and Pietersen came to a head in India on the 2008-09 tour. England lost the series 1-0 and both men resigned their positions, although Pietersen remained a member of the England team. Moores was replaced as coach by Zimbabwean Andy Flower. Against this background, England toured the West Indies under the captaincy of Andrew Strauss and, in a disappointing performance, lost the Test series 1-0. The 2009 Ashes series featured the first Test match played in Wales, at Sophia Gardens, Cardiff. England drew that match thanks to a last-wicket stand by bowlers James Anderson and Monty Panesar. A victory for each team followed before the series was decided at the Oval. Thanks to fine bowling by Stuart Broad and Graham Swan and a debut century by Jonathan Trott, England regained the Ashes. After a drawn Test series in South Africa, England won their first ever ICC World Championship, the 2010 World T20, with a 7-wicket win over Australia in Barbados. The following winter in the 2010-11 Ashes, they thrashed Australia 3-1 to retain the urn and record their first series win in Australia for 24 years. Furthermore, all 3 of their wins were innings victories, the first time a touring side had ever recorded 3 innings victories in a single Test series. Alastair Cook earned man of the series with 766 runs. England struggled to match their test form in the 2011 ICC Cricket World Cup. Despite beating South Africa and tying with eventual winners India, England suffered shock losses to Ireland and Bangladesh before losing in the quarter-finals to Sri Lanka. However, the team's excellent form in the Test match arena continued, and on August 13, 2011, they became the world's top-ranked Test team after comfortably whitewashing India 4-0, their sixth consecutive series victory and eighth in the past 9 series. However, this status only lasted a year, having lost 3-0 to Pakistan over the winter. England were beaten 2-0 by South Africa, who replaced them at the top of the rankings. It was their first home series loss since 2008, against the same opposition. This loss saw the resignation of Strauss as captain. His replacement, Alastair Cook, who was already in charge of the ODI side, led England to a 2-1 victory in India, their first in the country since 1984-85. In doing so, Cook became the first ever captain to score centuries in his first 5 tests as captain and became England's leading century maker with 23 centuries to his name. After finishing as runners-up in the ICC Champions Trophy, England faced Australia in back-to-back Ashes series. A 3-0 home win secured England the urn for the 4th time in 5 series. However, in the return series, they found themselves utterly demolished in a 5-0 defeat, their second Ashes whitewash in under a decade. Their misery was compounded by batsman Jonathan Trott leaving the tour early due to a stress-related illness and the mid-series retirement of spinner Graham Swan. Following the tour, head coach Andy Flower resigned his post whilst batsman Kevin Pietersen was dropped indefinitely from the England team. Flower was replaced by his predecessor Peter Moores, but he was sacked for a second time after a string of disappointing results, including failing to advance from the group stage at the 2015 World Cup. He was replaced by Australian Trevor Bayliss, who oversaw an upturn of form in the ODI side, including series victories against New Zealand and Pakistan. In the Test arena, England reclaimed the Ashes 3-2 in the summer of 2015. As set out by the ICC's Future Tours programme, below is England's full international fixture list until the end of the 2019-20 season. It therefore does not include the 2019-21 ICC Test Championship finals to be held in England, the 2023 Cricket World Cup to be held in India, or the 2020 ICC World 2020 to be held in Australia. The venues for the home games are in brackets. Winter 2017-18, Summer 2018, Winter 2018-19, Summer 2019, Winter 2019-20, 2010s. The England and Wales Cricket Board is the governing body of English cricket and the England cricket team. The board has been operating since January 1, 1997 and represents England on the International Cricket Council. The ECB is also responsible for the generation of income from the sale of tickets, sponsorship, and broadcasting rights, primarily in relation to the England team. The ECB's income in the 2006 calendar year was £77 million. Prior to 1997, the Test and County Cricket Board was the governing body for the English team. Apart from in Test matches, when touring abroad, the England team officially played as MCC up to and including the 1976-77 tour of Australia, reflecting the time when MCC had been responsible for selecting the touring party. The last time the England touring team wore the bacon and egg colours of the MCC was on the 1996-97 tour of New Zealand. Historically, the England team also represented Wales and Scotland in international cricket. The Scottish Cricket Union severed ties with the TCCB in 1992, with Wales continuing to be represented by England. Plaid Cymru have argued that Wales should have its own international team and withdraw from the existing arrangement under which Welsh players play for England. The proposal has aroused strong opposition from Cricket Wales and Glamorgan County Cricket Club, who argue such a move would be financially disastrous. The debate focused on a report produced by the Welsh National Assembly's Petitions Committee, which reflected the passionate arguments on both sides. Bethan Jenkins, Plaid Cymru's spokesperson on heritage, culture, sport and broadcasting, and a member of the Petitions Committee, said, "Cricket Wales and Glamorgan CCC say the idea of a Welsh national cricket team is an emotive subject. Of course having a national team is emotive. You only have to look at the stands during any national game to see that. To suggest this as anything other than natural is a bit of a misleading argument." In their strategic plan, Cricket Wales state they are committed to continuing to play a major role within the ECB. England's kit is manufactured by New Balance, who replaced previous manufacturer Adidas in April 2017. When playing Test cricket, England's cricket whites feature the three lions badge on the left of the shirt and the name and logo of the sponsor NatWest on the right. English fielders may wear a navy blue cap or white sun hat with the ECB logo in the middle. Helmets are also colored navy blue. Recent results. In limited overs cricket, England's ODI and T20 shirts feature the NatWest logo across the centre, with the three lions badge on the left of the shirt and the New Balance logo on the right. In ODIs, the kit comprises a blue shirt with navy trousers, whilst the T20 kit comprises a red shirt with blue hoops and navy trousers. In ICC limited overs tournaments, a modified kit design is used with sponsor's logo moving to the sleeve and England printed across the front. Over the years, England's ODI kit has cycled between various shades of blue with the occasional all-red kit. Forthcoming fixtures. In Test cricket, England recently drew criticism for wearing mismatched cream shirts and white jumpers. Listed chronologically in order of first Test match. Governing body. Status of Wales. ICC World 2020, 2010. Where applicable, a minimum of 10 innings batted or 50 balls bowled applies. Figures include games up to February 18, 2018. Team colours. International grounds. Test and ODI. ODI and T20I only. Tournament history. World Cup. ICC Champions Trophy. ICC World 2020. Honours. Records. Test matches. Test team records. Test individual records. Test batting records. Test bowling records. Test fielding records. This lists all the active players who have played for England in the past year and the forms in which they have played, or any players outside this criteria who have been selected in the team's most recent squad. The ECB offers a number of central contracts in September each year to England players whom the selectors think will form the core of the team. Players can now gain contracts for Test and white ball cricket and in some cases both. Other players who play enough games during the year can also gain incremental contracts. Key. At the start of each season, the ECB present the England Men's Cricketer of the Year award to recognise outstanding performances in all formats of international cricket over the past year, voted on by members of the cricket media. The previous winners of this award are: the England cricket team represents England and Wales. However, under ICC regulations, players can qualify to play for a country by nationality, place of birth or residence, so some people are eligible to play for more than one team. ECB regulations state that to play for England, a player must be a British or Irish citizen, and have either been born in England or Wales, or have lived in England or Wales for the last 7 years. This has led to players of many other nationalities becoming eligible to play for England. Of the current squad, Jason Roy was born to British parents in South Africa, while Zimbabwean-born Gary Ballance has British grandparents. Both had to fulfill residency requirements. In addition, Chris Jordan and Ben Stokes have British citizenship, having lived in England since their youth, while Owen Morgan is an Irish citizen. ICC regulations also allow cricketers who represent associate nations to switch to a test-playing nation, provided nationality requirements are fulfilled. In recent years, this has seen Irish internationals Ed Joyce, Boyd Rankin, and Owen Morgan switch to represent England, whilst Gavin Hamilton previously played for Scotland, though Joyce, Rankin, and Hamilton were later able to re-qualify for and represent their home countries. Test record versus other nations. One-day internationals. ODI team records. ODI individual records. ODI batting records. ODI bowling records. ODI fielding records. ODI record versus other nations. T20 internationals. T20I team records. T20I individual records. T20I batting records. T20I bowling records. T20I fielding records. T20I record versus other nations. Most England appearances. Personnel. Squad. Coaching staff. England Men's Cricketer of the Year. Eligibility of players. Bibliography.